last thing that we're going to look at is the explanation of research steps. So previously I showed you how I came up with my description methodology. One thing that I touched base on here was the idea of a book club, and one of the other things that I touched base on was the idea of book talks, both from a teacher and from students. So I have 2 steps so far, and these are just things that I would do to combat the problem, either in my community or on a grander scale than that. So I'm focusing on the community because that's something that I can easily access. And so by that I mean the school, because the school is made up of our community. So one of the first steps that should be taken is to assess the type of reading and the amount of reading that actually happens in the community. I would do this by conducting a survey of students in my current high school. I might use a Google form to easily collect that data rather than interviewing, as I can reach many more students since the district is a one-to-one school. Okay. So first step, gather some information. I do have a step on here, like after gathering information about reading habits, I would then start by creating a book club. Although this might only draw in a handful of students who already enjoy spending time reading, it is a way to cultivate a positive reading environment. But I think there's something that I could do in between. So while gathering the data, I would use that time to book talk my favorite books to students. So once a day, I would spend 5 minutes sharing a book. 5 minutes sharing a book, reading a passage from it, giving a summary of it, and explaining why I enjoy it. This is open forum, so students have a chance to ask me questions. I could also take this a step further and have students book talk the books they read during sustained silent reading. Okay. So I think that that's a step that I could take prior to the book club. So another thing that I might do after starting a book club is to have a reading competition. So through a partnership with the library at the school, I would start a reading competition with students. Students try to read as many books as they can in a set amount of time, days, weeks, months, etc. And the winner, here we go, and a visual representation will be created and hung around the school to show the progress of those readers. Okay, so like the idea of let me stand next to the stack of books I read this summer or this month, and who can have the highest stack or things like that. And then create posters about that and hang them around the school. So once again, it's just trying to raise awareness. So you want to come up with as many steps as possible. I would try to aim for at least 5 different steps that you plan on taking to combat the issue. Okay. Try to be thorough in your explanations for each of those steps. If you're not going to be as thorough, then you should have a minimum of 10. Okay, but the more you put, the more likely you'll do well on this. And keep in mind, whoever has the best plan will be declared a winner. Okay, so these are just the steps that I would take. So I currently have 4, so I'm probably going to list 3 or 4 more because this topic itself, although many students don't necessarily see it as an issue, as an English teacher specifically, I can definitely think of many ways to help foster a love of reading, both in my school as well as schools in the younger grades. So, for example, the last one that I'll put up here to show you today is a way to foster love, a love of reading in younger children is for students either in the book club, the reading competition, or random volunteers. Ooh. Always proofread. Our random volunteers would go to the elementary buildings. Trying to think. In this case, if I knew the specific buildings that fed into our school, this is where I would list them. So they would go into the elementary buildings and partner up with a student who they would sit and read with for an hour or something like that. Okay, so that idea of here are older kids who are getting to participate with younger kids and kind of fostering that enjoyment of reading at a younger age. Okay, so at least 5 steps in explanation of research steps.